Events of last night and throughout the evening, it reminds me of, or it's something that I hear very often. In the 11 years that I've been mayor, I think I get asked this question often: what keeps you up at night? Well, what happened last night is what keeps me up at night. It was certainly a tragic situation that happened at Crossroads Mall, but I want to first of all thank the law enforcement response, not only our St. Cloud PD, but the departments from throughout the area, the Sheriff's Office, our firefighters, emergency management folks, ambulance, all of the response teams of our first responders were exemplary in how quickly they were there and responded to the events that took place last night. And I'd also like to thank the response that Crossroads, the management at Crossroads, staff, the folks in Target and Macy's, a number of folks that were also extremely helpful in their response last night. Our thoughts and our prayers continue to be with the victims, the individuals that were attacked last night. I want to just give you an update from the previous press conference we held last night. Since that night, there have been some changes. We had an additional individual who self-admitted at Long Prairie Hospital. So there were nine victims, and as of 7 o'clock this morning, there were three that were still in the hospital. No one with any type of life-threatening injuries, but there are three of the nine that remain in the hospital. The other individuals have been released. Those victims, I'll give you an without the names, but Rain, I'll give you male, 22-year-old from Big Lake, male, 24-year-old from Wilmer, male, 53-year-old from Albany, male, 45-year-old from St. Cloud, male, 20-year-old from St. Cloud, female, 15-year-old from Big Lake, female, 50-year-old from Kimball, male, 29-year-old from St. Cloud, and a male, 31-year-old from Avon. Our thoughts and prayers are with these victims, but also all of the other individuals in the mall on a Saturday night. As you can imagine, on a weekend, the amount of people in the mall, I can't help but think of the families and the children that witnessed a horrific action. But I also want to recognize the individual off-duty police officer who eliminated the threat and took down the suspect. That officer is from the Avon Police Department, Jason Falconer. Jason Falconer is a part-time police officer for Avon. He is the former chief of police of Albany. He was in the mall, and as somebody who has had an opportunity to witness the surveillance tape in Macy's and witnessed what he did, he clearly prevented additional injuries and potentially loss of life. His heroic actions are exemplary, having witnessed what he did as the suspect was lunging at him with the knife. Not only did he fire, the suspect went down, he came back up on 3 different occasions. He, again, protected others from being injured and potentially loss of life. Clearly, a hero. Officer Falconer was there at the right time, at the right place. The mall, Crossroads Shopping Center, will be the crime scene has now police have left. It will remain closed today. Crossroads is expected to open for business as usual tomorrow, but it'll be closed today. I want to again thank the responders. I also want to thank, in a situation like this, you really understand what your community is made of. The strong support that I have heard and received in phone calls, in emails, texts, through social media, not only from our community but from all over the world. The outpouring of support in this community. We're a strong community. We're a united community. And there is, in this individual, evil act, unjustifiable in any means, will not shake the resolve of this community. We have had tremendous outpouring, not only, as I mentioned, from throughout the world, but within our community. That support is very strong and clearly is evident in this community, the strength of this community. I'm going to have come up now to the podium Chief of Police for the City of St. Cloud, Blair Anderson, and as he comes up, again, I can't say enough for the first responders in our community and beyond just the City of St. Cloud.
We certainly want to acknowledge all of our partners, our neighboring partners, our federal and state partners. At a time like this, you need your colleagues and your partners, and they were there for us, and they still are. I can tell you, before I go back through the chronology, that from the first 911 call till the subject was eliminated was approximately 5 minutes. And that's what we expect when something like this starts. We train to respond to these kinds of incidents swiftly, and that's exactly what happened yesterday. But for that swift response, particularly the actions of Officer Falconer, I agree with the mayor that this could have been much, much worse. And no one being injured obviously is acceptable, but this could have been a lot worse but for the swift response, not only from the men and women of St. Cloud Police Department, but all of our neighbors as well. So I'll go over the chronology with you again in case some of you weren't available last evening. At approximately 8 or 8:15 last night, one individual entered the southeast side of the Crossroads Mall on Division Street and attacked 9 people. We now know there were 9 victims, as the mayor said, one self-transported to a hospital outside of our jurisdiction. Stabbed 9 people, was confronted by Officer Falconer, and I had the opportunity to view the video with the mayor, and I couldn't agree more with his take on it. This is what we're trained to do. Unfortunately, none of us ever want to have to do that, but that's what we're here for. Our job is the public safety of all. And Officer Falconer's actions, again, were swift and direct, and in my opinion, appropriate. I don't think I have anything more to add other than between last night, obviously, and this morning, we've executed at least 2 search warrants at an address here in St. Cloud. We did discover the suspect's vehicle in the mall parking lot. That vehicle was cleared and impounded. In other words, there's no imminent threat either from that vehicle, or right now, there's nothing that we have gleaned that would suggest to us that this is anything other than what it appears to be now. Now, keep in mind, and let me emphasize, at this time, there's nothing to suggest anything differently than what you've been told, all right? But there are a lot of moving parts, and this is a fluid situation, and I can assure you we will be transparent with you on any developments, so long as they don't compromise our investigation. I'm going to turn it over to Special Agent in Charge, Rick Thornton. He's sacked from the Minneapolis office of the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
I want to echo what the chief said in terms of this is a very fluid situation and will continue to evolve. The FBI and the Joint Terrorism Task Force has been working side by side with the St. Cloud Police Department and other partners since last night, throughout the night and today. We are currently investigating this as a potential act of terrorism. And I do say potential. There's a lot we don't know. We do not at this point in time know whether the subject it was in contact with, had connections with, was inspired by a foreign terrorist organization. That's what the investigation is attempting to ascertain at this point in time. That will involve all the things that you would expect. We'll look at his social media, we'll look at his electronic devices, we'll talk to associates. We will try to sort of peel back the onion and figure out what motivated this individual to commit the horrific act that he did last night. I also want to remiss in not echoing the mayor and the chief's sentiment of thoughts and prayers out to the 9 individuals that were victimized and the other people that had to experience the trauma, even if they weren't physically injured. That's again, that's our role at this point in time, along with the St. Cloud PD, is to figure out what happened and to ultimately, hopefully, establish what the motivation was. Thank you very much.
So feel free if you have some questions, but the more probing ones, I'm going to defer to Lieutenant Ellering as she's been heading up this investigation. Sir.
Jeff Devin, Associated Press, Minneapolis. As a suspect, his name been released, and did you any kind of manifesto on
The suspect's, easy for me to say, excuse me. The suspect's identity has not been released. We are taking our cues from the medical examiner on that.
And did you leave behind a manifesto that you're aware of?
None that I'm aware of. Yeah, we believe there was some connection to both apartments. We don't know if it was familial or domestic, but we know that there was some connection to both apartments. So that's the reason for the 2 warrants. I believe he entered the southeast side by Sears and made his way through the mall. And I know that Lieutenant Ellering may be able to give you a better idea of exactly the pathway, but it ended in Macy's. There is. I don't know if there's video. Step up.
We're working on piecemealing a lot of that together right now. There is no core video in the actual mall itself, but a lot of the independent stores have their own video surveillance systems. So right now we've got investigators out there right now working with store management to figure out what stores have video, which way it points, what angles we can get, and then all the different mechanisms to get those downloaded. And that's what we're working on right now to get that all pieced together. Macy's store does have video right inside, so the actual incident, the encounter with the off-duty officer, is on video inside Macy's. We believe other portions of the incident, starting from the one side of the mall and going to the other, will be bits and pieces, will have video.
Again, at this point, we are working in conjunction with our federal partners, with the FBI, to determine those kinds of things. Let me add as well, too, before I forget. St. Cloud is a very resilient community. St. Cloud is filled with hard-working, right-thinking, decent people, and we're going to be stronger because of this. It doesn't matter where this happens. If it's happening anywhere, it's happening everywhere. And yesterday was just a horrible day, not only for St. Cloud, but for the state of Minnesota and for our entire nation. So I wanted to be clear about that, but I also want our citizens to know that we're here and we will remain steadfast in service of them and in protection of them.
Do you have the spelling of the officer's name prior to
Lieutenant?
Jason Falconer, Falconer. And Jason Falconer, Falconer. He was, from understanding, he was just happened to be in the right place at the right time, but was not there. It was off duty. Was not there as a police officer. And again, truly, if not for his actions, things would have been worse. Had an opportunity to speak to him about a half an hour ago. He clearly prevented additional injuries and potentially loss of life through his heroic action. In that video, what I've seen in that video, as the suspect is entering with carrying a knife into Macy's, and that's where the video that I had an opportunity to see last night. Clearly, he has a knife in hand. He can certainly see the officer, Officer Falconer, when he came in. Clearly, and from what witnesses, you can't hear the audio on the video, but what I've heard from witnesses, he identified himself as a police officer. And asked him to, you actually see him going down by command and then immediately lunging towards the officer. And this is something, as somebody, you know, I'm a layperson to law enforcement, but in witnessing what may have been 20 feet or beyond, covered in less than 2 seconds with a knife. So you saw him lunge at the police officer. The officer then fired a few rounds, you see him fall, and then you see him get back up. Again, fired upon, you see him fall, you see him get back up. 3 times. And then even after that, to the point where he still was attempting to get back up again within the officer, the fatal blow. And then you also see our officers, St. Cloud PD, entering the scene at that moment. I would, from the vantage point, would certainly something that would be more of a kitchen type knife, or certainly the type of knife that created injuries on 9 individuals. So it didn't really matter what the size of it. It was a knife that was dangerous and caused a significant amount of injury to a lot of people. You know, I'm watching a video, so what I see is what I can look at is looks like 20 feet from the first lunge, and then each one getting closer, even to the point where close enough that the officer actually was. Almost to the point where falling backwards. He was that close. If not, there's clearly the officer's life was clearly in danger, and he made it. To me, in watching it, it looks like a training video for law enforcement, what law enforcement should do. Clearly, he made a decision, and if not for him being there, clearly this would have been much worse than it was. My understanding, he does.
Not to my knowledge.
Yes.
The video shows exactly what the mayor said. He's wielding a knife, and he closed the distance on that officer in the blink of an eye.
Can you talk at all about the suspect, how long he may have been living in our community, or have you had contact with him in the past, or was he on your radar at all?
We have had minor contact. I believe we have 3 in-house contacts with this individual, nothing more serious than traffic violations thus far. How long this individual has lived in St. Cloud, I don't know that yet. I will defer that to the FBI.
So at this early stage in the investigation, I'm not going to comment on that. You know, part of our process, again, is searching, you know, the entire repository of databases on what we know about somebody, to include immigration records if they're applicable, to include, you know, as you mentioned, you know, terrorism watch records, our own internal databases, criminal databases, and so forth. That's an ongoing process. It just takes a little time to, you know, to kind of put together a definitive package on that. So I don't want to comment prematurely.
Well, first of all, there's a certain amount of irony given what else happened yesterday. Again, we don't know that there's any nexus between these events, but that's a good start right there. One more question, you guys.
What was the age of the suspect?
Not releasing any information about the suspect right now. We're deferring to the medical examiner on that.
Yesterday's comments about what the suspect may have said
No, that's exactly it. That's all I know right now. I suspect I'll get another briefing after we are done here, but what I said yesterday is all I know for right now, that there was at least one victim who was asked if they were Muslim. And beyond that, I don't have any more information on that right now. So,
A guard at the mall, or was he posing as a guard?
to our knowledge, the suspect was not an employee of the mall. Suspect did have on a private security uniform, and again, we're in the process of figuring out if the suspect was actually an employee of a private security firm or a former employee or what. That's all I got, you guys, right now, unless the mayor wants to add something.
I just want to again reiterate the response, and I want to thank not only again the St. Cloud PD, the FBI, the BCA, the other law enforcement in our area, our St. Cloud Fire Department, the Gold Cross, the ambulance, the EMTs, and all the folks at Crossroads that came to a tremendously rapid response. Their efforts and coordinated efforts is something that the community should be very proud of. Thank you for being here.